What is up, guys? Welcome back. We have another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. It is Tuesday evening, August 26th. We have professional NFL football starting next Thursday night. It's Labor Day weekend coming up. You guys are getting ready for your live drafts, hopefully. I like to save all my important drafts for Labor Day weekend. We have the Fellowship League draft next Wednesday night, which is exciting. So Tuesday night, August 26th, we're going to do my final draft prep. I did put out a video last week going over basically pick one all the way into the 100s, just giving you guys notes and thoughts on players. Today, I figured we're going to open up this is my projection document, which you guys can get access to on the fantasyfellowship.com. If you guys do become a member and are interested in downloading things, I'm going to have weekly rankings, start sit charts, waiver wire, rest of season rankings, and there'll be more stuff in there throughout the year. But you can get access to, my PPR projection cheat sheets. And, that's just, I'm trying to pull it up here to show you guys. You can just download the cheat sheet, which is what I want to go over with you guys today. So we're going to start with the quarterback position. And let me kind of zoom in here. And this is standard scoring for quarterbacks to me is 4-point passing touchdowns, a point for every 25 passing yards. I think it's 0.04 per yard, something like that. -2 for interception. And how I'm going about drafting quarterbacks this year, I think there's a sweet spot. You want to draft your first 2 rounds, just grabbing your flex players and enjoying the value at running back and receiver. You can maybe think about a tight end. I usually don't. But for me, the quarterbacks, we have this amazing top 5 group of quarterbacks. These are kind of the guys that, it's really hard to see them fail unless they get hurt. Like these are the best fantasy quarterbacks available this year. And it's a couple tiers up top. It's Lamar and Josh Allen. If you guys want to take a poll on QB1 this season, I would do so in the 3rd round. And to me, you can kind of tell I have my PPR projection numbers here next to these guys. I have Lamar Jackson a little bit ahead of Josh Allen. So I'm pretty excited about Lamar, and I'm excited about what Josh Allen can do. I think they're going to be a little bit better throwing the ball this year. Bringing in Josh Palmer, Markeon Coleman, it should be a step forward from last year. Off a year, he won the MVP. So Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, if you want to take these guys in the 3rd round, I'm totally cool with it. I'm pretty much thinking, though, Jaden Daniels, man, if he slips into the 4th round, that becomes a pretty nice click. I'm willing to take him in the 3rd round if I miss on Lamar or Josh Allen. It's just we get to that point in the 3rd round where you're looking at a lot of these tier, these fringe top 10, top 12 running backs, a lot of these, wide receiver 2 type profiles where sometimes it just makes sense to grab one of these elite quarterbacks. And I think Jaden Daniels is the clear number 3 for me. I think Jalen Hurts with his rushing upside, of course, is the number 4. So 4th round, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, that kind of feels good to me. And again, the 3rd and 4th round, man, it's really easy to whiff on those picks where, we're looking at a lot of running backs, a lot of rookie running backs, Kieran Williams, maybe Alvin Kamara, James Conner, those type of guys, James Cook. And then the receivers are a little bit older in that range, Mike Evans, Devontae, Marvin Harrison. Just a lot of questions kind of in those rounds. So if you don't want to mess around and you just want to grab a QB, I think it's fine. And then Joe Burrow is kind of the ultimate value because he's going to throw the ball a ton. He's going to get a lot of passing touchdowns. If you play in a 6-point passing touchdowns, I'm going to tell you, just don't take Lamar, Josh, Jaden, or Jalen. Just wait for Joe Burrow. He's the perfect 6-point passing touchdown quarterback. So that's how I'm kind of, handling quarterback. And then my philosophy after the top 5 guys is I want to draft a guy that has top 5 upside at the position, or that I can basically take him at a discount and see him finish as QB 6, 7, 8, that kind of thing. So I really don't find myself taking the QBs ranked 6 through 10. And I think the consensus is probably Mahomes, Knicks, Mayfield, Murray, maybe I don't know who else is in there, but I really don't take a lot of those guys because I think the margin for error on these guys, it's not great. I'm looking at a guy like Dak Prescott here, who I have as my QB 6. He's being drafted well outside the top 10 QBs right now. So I like him as one of my favorite targets at the QB position. You kind of got to think about Dallas as potentially this year's Cincinnati Bengals, where Micah Parsons still not on the field yet. Defense could be pretty suspect. They're playing against a lot of high octane offenses in that division. And the offense is built to throw the ball. They are not built to run the ball. We're going to get a lot of what we saw last year from Dallas. And now you add George Pickens, which, you close your eyes and you just say, hey, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, George Pickens, T. Higgins. They got some tight ends. They got a few guys that they can mix in there as third down targets and other, situational deep threats. Dak Prescott could do a Joe Burrow impression. We just saw him do that a few years ago. So Dak, to me, and even though he's ranked number 6 here in my projections chart, I just think I'm not going to take him over Mahomes. I'm going to wait for him. But this chart just kind of shows you that, hey, there's other values that could bubble up and surpass, why am I buying Mahomes in the 6th round when I can just wait for Dak in the 9th or the 10th? So that's where I am. He's probably my favorite value quarterback to be drafting right now, just because I think everything's aligning for them to be a pass-heavy team. And as long as Dak stays healthy, man, when he finishes 16, 17 games in the year, he's usually a top 5 QB. So I think I'm willing to take the risk there. If Dak gets hurt, I didn't spend a lot of draft capital on him, and I can find another guy. So I like that way of thinking about it. I don't take a lot of Mahomes. I'm just nervous about him, having a ho-hum year, finishing QB 9 or 10. Don't see a lot of upside. I see mostly downside here. I'm coming back around to Bo Nix. I just updated his projections the other day, and he's a guy that I think, if he throws over 4,000 yards and he hits 30 touchdowns this year and he's running the ball at the clip that he was last year, he could easily be a guy that crashes the top 5 if he runs hot on touchdowns. So if there's anyone in that group of like consensus 6 to 10, I think Bo Nix is probably the one that I'm open to right now. I don't take a lot of Baker Mayfield. I'm nervous about, the dude threw 40. He had a career year last year, threw a ton of touchdowns, loses his offensive coordinator, doesn't have Chris Godwin. I know you got Ibuka, another year of Mike Evans, but I worry about him just potentially. To me, it seems like he's more likely to go down than he is to improve on his numbers last year. So I'm kind of not taking a lot of Baker. Don't take a lot of Kyler Murray, even though I think he's got a nice high floor with the rushing upside, but he's really not that great of a passer. It's a little frustrating for me. And then after that, guys like Justin Herbert, guy's going to throw the ball really efficiently. He's going to run some with his legs. I think he's kind of the same bet as Kyler Murray. I think he's a better quarterback. So the cost difference is, a round or two, if not greater. So I like looking for Dak, for Nix, and then my next tier is kind of Herbert. People forget, man, Jared Goff has been a top 10 QB in 3 straight years with the Lions. Does not offer rushing upside, but man, you get some really juicy passing numbers, and they have one of the best cast of weapons to throw the ball to. So Jared Goff is, I know he doesn't run the ball, but he's been QB 7 in the last 2 years, and I think he was maybe QB 10 his first year with the Lions. So for a guy with a super safe floor, doesn't get hurt, he's a really safe end game target if you just wait for empty on QB. And then we get into some of the guys that I think are really exciting bets. So my strategy with QB is kind of waiting for 2 of these guys. If I don't get Dak, Nix, or Herbert, I don't mind waiting for Goff and Lawrence. Taking Goff and then pairing him with a guy that could break out, whether it's Purdy, Fields, Love, May, Caleb, Stroud. Like, look at all these young QBs that we have right here. I really like this group. So to me, if I don't get a top 5 QB or I miss on Dak or something, I think waiting for a group of 2 of these young QBs makes a lot of sense to me. And then, you can still pair him with Goff. You can even take Herbert and another quarterback and kind of play the matchup. So I'm definitely on the team of waiting for QB. That's just kind of how I've been operating. But hey, if you get a value on a top 5 QB, I think you take it. Moving on to the running back position, I guess. Yeah, let's just move on to the running backs. If you guys have super flex questions, let me know. But the running backs, man, we have, I think, 5 guys worthy of a first round pick. To me, it's clearly Bijan, and Jahmyr Gibbs as the top 2 guys that deserve a top 5 pick. McCaffrey's the one guy that, I get it. If you're concerned about the risk, take somebody else. It's the first round. If you're nervous about someone, just avoid it. Take a receiver, take CeeDee Lamb, take Justin Jefferson, take Saquon Barkley, take whoever you want there. But McCaffrey and Barkley are both top 10 picks. I don't get a lot of Barkley because I just see the arrow pointing down, especially in that yardage department and maybe even touch. He had a lot of big play touchdowns last year. So to me, it's easy to see his numbers pointing down. Still a great pick in the first round. You get Saquon Barkley, one of the best running offenses in the league. So take one of these 4 running backs if you can. Otherwise, we have this interesting group of running backs kind of in the second round from Genty, Achane, JT, Bucky, Chase Brown, Josh Jacobs. I think if there's any chance you can get 2 of these guys, that's like really, really sweet. But I think, to me, staying balanced is one of the things that I've been very interested in this year. So to me, getting a running back in the first or second round is kind of a priority. And the second round running backs here are pretty sweet. Genty, Achane, JT, Irving, Chase Brown, and Josh Jacobs. This is with PPR in mind. Of course, I don't have Kieran and Derek. I guess these guys are both second rounders. I just don't take Henry in PPR leagues. I'll continue to not do that. If you want to take Henry, make sure it's a standard or a half PPR league. That's where he becomes a top 5 running back. But just looking for value here on a second round running back, I think all of these guys present insane upside. You can make a case for them being a top 5 back as long as they stay healthy. Achane is the one that makes me the most nervous, just with the calf injury already and the fragility of it seems like the Dolphins are fragile for this year where things could really go ugly. Jonathan Taylor looks better and better each day to me as just a guy that I think can basically lead the league in all the rushing categories. I'm thinking rushing attempts, yards, touchdowns. Not going to get a lot of passing volume, but he is the Derrick Henry. He's going to take the new Derrick Henry torch. I think he's just going to be one of the best running backs in the league. So target a running back. You want one of these top 10 guys. I think that's very clear to me. And then as we go further down the list, I'm a little skittish on Kieran and Derrick Henry. I like looking for some of these running backs in this range, roughly RB 13 to 24. Omarion Hampton at the end of the 3rd round, early 4th round. I think he's an ideal RB2 candidate. I know Najee Harris is coming back and he's going to probably be ready for week 1, but I think it's very clear when the Chargers, a team that wants to run the ball, takes a 1st round rookie running back, they're going to give him the ball. And I just think he's going to continue to show that he's a really good running back over the season. So Hampton, one of the ideal RB2s. And then Tony Pollard, man, he's kind of surprised me. He was very good last year on a bad team. And now that bad team should be just a little bit better. So I think there's reasonable, projection here for Tony Pollard to be just a little bit better. And now we have the backup running back Tajay Spears on PUP to start the year. So a month without Tajay Spears, Tony Pollard could be a really hot running back 2 to get you started. He could also be a running back 1 if you want to wait and kind of go empty at running back. Wait for Pollard. I think he's a great pick this year, especially as a running back 2. Kamara, just probably getting less and less work this year than he has in the past. He's on a bad team. They're starting Spencer Rattler, but Kamara still showed enough last year that he can be a very productive and potentially a top 10 running back. If he stays healthy and he's getting a lot of touches and touchdowns, could look really good. So I do feel good about Kamara in full PPR. I still like James Conner, really strong running back 2 that'll get you some top 5 weeks sprinkled throughout the year. James Cook, touchdowns are coming down for Cook, but he's still going to be very valuable as a running back 2. And then here's the guy, TreVeyon Henderson in the 4th round. He's going to have the profile of a PPR back to start the year, but his potential to gain more and more work as the year goes on is very exciting, where maybe at some point we're ranking him as a top 5 back. I think he's on the spectrum of Kamara, Jahmyr Gibbs, and then like his floor is DeAndre Swift, which is a strong RB2 with RB1 upside. So I'm in on Henderson. I'm a little skittish on Kenneth Walker. I like Walker when he's healthy. He just has not shown the ability to stay healthy, and he's kind of struggled to stay healthy just this summer already. DeAndre Swift, I think, is just again, PPR volume RB2 back, which looks fine. David Montgomery, he's going to be kind of the opposite of Swift, where he's getting all his volume from the running game and the rushing touchdowns, not so much receiving work. He was a good receiving back last year, but I think Montgomery, he's kind of the last guy where I'm like, I feel really good about him as my running back too. I'm going to get either 80 yards and a touchdown, or I'll get 7 to 10 points on a bad game where he doesn't score a touchdown, but he usually scores a touchdown. Pacheco, I think I'm taking a chance on him to be the Chiefs running back that you want all season. And then we get to this weird list here. I'm going to kind of go all the way down to Jordan Mason, RB 22 to 36. These are the guys that you want as your RB3 or on your bench. I think a couple of these guys can survive as your RB2, specifically probably Breece Hall, probably RJ Harvey, who I need to find a way to get up more and more. I think Jaylen Warren's he's a bench running back that I want. I think Tracy's a bench running back. Aaron Jones, maybe a flex. I'm not really in on Chuba, Ramondre Stevenson. These guys are, to me, they're bench running backs. merit. I don't know if he's going to get a lot of receiving work. I do have him ranked pretty highly with my projections because he's going to probably lead the team in all the rushing categories, but a little bit nervous about his PPR-ness. For me, Javonte is going to be the lead back in Dallas. What's that worth if he's sharing it with Jaden Blue and Miles Sanders? I really like Zach Charbonnet as a guy that might have some weekly upside, and then if Kenneth Walker goes down, you have a top 10 running back. I'm not drafting Jags running backs. I think Eckler, Jerome Ford, these are two pass catching backs that I like on my PPR bench. And then we get to Jordan Mason, who is kind of like Zach Charbonnet to me. He's going to have a base role in this offense. And if anything happens to Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason's going to be a top 15 running back in fantasy. I think taking a chance on Dylan Sampson makes a lot of sense. He actually got the start in the preseason game the other day. They're going to share that workload with Ford and Sampson. I think it's going to be two guys. So try and get one of those guys. I think that's going to be a nice bench option for you. I have Rico Dowdle pretty high because I think they're going to use him on third downs in some other situations. That's just going to take a little bit off the top of our guy Chuba. Tank Bigsby in a touchdown half PPR league. I think same thing with Caleb Johnson. These are the same profiles to me. I don't get why Caleb Johnson goes way higher. Braylon Allen, he's a fun guy to put on the bench in case Brees gets traded or hurt or anything. And then we just got a bunch of guys here that I think are just end of the bench, see what happens kind of guys. Rashad White, J.K. Dobbins, Ray Davis. Hopefully you're not relying on any of these guys at some point throughout the season, but if you have them on your bench and they get put into a starting role, that's where it feels really good. I really like Bashal Tutin. He's actually the one Jag that I want. And, these are projections, so I have to kind of keep the numbers low because we got Bigsby and ETN on the team. But if any of those guys gets hurt or traded, it's going to be Bashal Tutin's backfield at some point. I think it's just a matter of time. So for me, hitting the running backs again, if you get two of the top 10 guys, that's great. I think you just need one for sure to kind of hang your hat on. And then I really like this group right here. Hampton, Pollard, Kamara, Connor, Cook, Henderson, and then I like some of these guys down here like Monty, Pacheco, Warren, Hall, Harvey. Getting two or three of these running backs here in the top 25, I think make a lot of sense. And then putting some chips on your bench, whether it's Eckler, Ford, Mason, Sampson, some of these guys with distinct roles, especially in a PPR league. I like PPR roles. And then a couple rookies down here, whether it's Jaden Blue, maybe it's Bashal Tutin, maybe it's a clear handcuff like Trey Benson, or maybe even Jalen Wright, Kendre Miller. I do like Ollie Gordon though too. So to me, you need to have a good backfield, but build it in so that you can cash in on some of these values here in the middle. You don't want to be too heavy at the running back spot at the start. That way you're missing running back values as the draft goes on. So balance, I will preach. Receivers, 2025 receivers. You need one of these horses, man. And to me, these are the horses. CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, Brian Thomas, Drake London, Justin Jefferson, Nico Collins. You could start your draft with two of these guys and then just hit running backs in the middle of the draft. I think that's still staying balanced. If you come out of the fourth round with two elite receivers and two running backs the third, fourth round, I think that's fine. But getting your hands on one of these receivers, I think is the way to go this season. So I love all of these guys. I struggle. I mean, it's Lamb and Chase in the top for me. But after that, I got BTJ, London, JJ, and Nico all kind of in this second tier of potential wide receiver. We're talking wide receiver one potential from these guys. I have questions on Neighbors and Nacua, where I just prefer London, BTJ, and Collins ahead of them. I think if you want to take Neighbors and Nacua, you can totally do it. Like they do deserve. They're talented enough to deserve a top 5 wide receiver finish this year. I just have a little bit of questions on both guys. JSN, I think, is a sneaky guy to just rack up 110 receptions this year. He's kind of that third round receiver that I'm looking for. If I don't get him in the third round, I'm probably going to look towards running back or the quarterbacks, like I mentioned. Amon-Ra, he's safe and boring, but he's going to get points. Ladd McConkey has been kind of sliding since Keenan Allen joined the team, but he's a really nice guy that falls into the third round too. So to me, JSN, Ladd McConkey, those are two really nice receiver options that slide into the third round. I'm fine with A.J. Brown. I'm fine with Devontae Adams. But after that, I'm not super excited to draft receivers in the fourth round. The fifth round is where it kind of heats up. And sometimes Mike Evans is there, but I don't really take a lot of Mike Evans in full PPR. Same thing with T. Higgins. I think Higgins is a nice pick but he's more of a standard to half PPR guy for me. I want a team's ace. I want a team's wide receiver one, and Higgins just always ends up playing 13, 14 games. Sutton's one of those guys that I really like in the fourth, fifth round area. McMillan, Jameson Williams. I want one of these guys. If you can find a way to get two of these guys, and again, assuming you already have a top 10 receiver option, if I come away with Sutton and McMillan as my number 2 and number 3, I'm super happy about that. Same with Jameson Williams. I'm concerned about Marvin Harrison just being consistent every week. He's going to catch touchdowns, but he's going to, is he going to expand his route tree and become more of a weapon, a consistent PPR weapon? I don't know. I think at this point, I'd rather have Calvin Ridley, Xavier Worthy, for sure, George Pickens. Like these are, these 3 names here, Ridley, Worthy, Pickens, and then Jameson, Tet, and Sutton. Like if you told me I could get 3 or 4 of these receivers, like I would be pretty excited about what my team could do this season. I don't take a lot of Metcalf, Judy, Smith, Waddle, DJ Moore. I kind of avoid that area of the draft, and I'm looking for the guys that I just kind of mentioned. But then we get into this fun little pocket of guys right here that I have about 28th to about 38th here. That's Ricky Pearsall. He's one of my favorite guys that I'm not afraid to take in the 6th or 7th round. I don't take Garrett Wilson. I'm out on the Jets receiving weapons. I think he's going to struggle to be consistent week to week, and just where he's being drafted, I don't get a lot of him. I think Terry McLaurin's fine, but his touchdowns are coming down. Zay Flowers, he's more of a best ball pick for me. I don't think I trust him week to week to get me there consistently. I think Egbuka, Olave, these are 2 guys that I like quite a bit. Egbuka probably could lead the Bucs in receptions this year. Olave stays healthy, man. You're going to like what you get. That's really the only knock on him. I don't really care that the quarterbacks are bad. They've always been bad in New Orleans. And then Matthew Golden is the other rookie receiver with Egbuka. I guess I kind of like all the rookie receivers, but Golden is kind of starting to show that he could be Jordan Love's number 1 receiver and pop off for, maybe 70 catches this year and just lead the team in all the receiving categories. And then I'm kind of bullish on Rashid Shaheed. I think they're going to use Olave and Rashid Shaheed a lot. The offense is going to flow through those guys when they're passing the ball. So some late value there on Shaheed, I think, makes sense. And then we got some interesting guys, Hunter Odunze. Those guys are both fun upside players that I probably don't want in my lineup week 1. I want to see what they do week 1 and then go from there. And then these, veterans, Debo, Diggs, Hill, I don't really take a lot of them. We get into the later parts here. I think Shakir's fine for redraft PPR purposes. I kind of like the discount on Addison if he dips, because it's only a 3-game suspension, man. If I can find a way to get through the first 3 games and then get a talent like Addison back, I think that's fine. Josh Downs probably leads the Colts in receptions. Bateman's better in reception and yardages leagues, half PPR standard. Who knows? Maybe Cooper Kupp's got something left. Maybe Christian Kirk's got something left. I think, these slot receivers right here, Kupp, Kirk, Reed, Douglas, I like putting these kind of, these profiles on my bench. One of these guys late. Juwan Jennings is kind of fine late because he's going to continue to fall. And then we get to the point where I don't know if I need any of these guys on my team. At this point, I'd rather have my 4 or 5 receivers already. And, I could take a chance on a Marvin Mims or a Keon Coleman or something like that. I don't hate Keenan Allen on my bench either. Some of the older guys where we can get some value out of them right away and see what happens. I'm out on Rashee Rice. I just don't want to deal with the suspension. We don't know when it's going to happen. And the longer it delays, I just get more and more nervous. So I don't really want these receivers on my bench. I'd rather be taking these late round running backs. So there's a kind of this sweet spot pocket where, take a slot receiver a little bit later, but I want to be hammering those middle rounds. I want to be able to capitalize on the Goldens, the Egbukas, the Pearsalls, and hopefully I got, some other guys that we liked, whether it's Worthy, Pickens, Ridley. You kind of want to be a little bit middle to top heavy at receiver, and then you can come back and close out your draft with one of those slot guys. So hopefully that helps you guys with the receiver position. Tight end position real quick. I have Trey McBride as my tight end 1. I think the touchdowns kind of flow back to him this season. His volume plus his lack of touchdowns last year, I think, again, it's going to push him probably over the top. Bowers, I'm a little concerned with, just a new coaching regime, less passing attempts as they're hopefully a better offense and winning more games. And then just the ability for Michael Mayer to maybe steal some snaps, not necessarily touches, but just if Bowers is on the field a little less, that concerns me. So I think I'm not really interested in him in the second round. If you want to do it, go ahead. It's your team. Have fun. If Brock Bowers pops off and finishes as the tight end 1, that's great. That's the price you paid for it. But I kind of like waiting for the tier of Kittle in the fourth round if nothing looks good there. Otherwise, I'm totally fine with taking a shot on Mark Andrews, Sam Laporta, TJ Hawkinson. I'm not really taking Travis Kelce, but honestly, my favorite thing to do is just to wait on the tight end position because it is the least important position in fantasy football. We're basically hunting touchdowns at this point. If you can find a guy that can get you 40, 50 yards and 3-4 catches, that's pretty much all you need to be consistent at tight end. So, Hawkinson, Njoku, I don't even hate Zach Ertz. He's one of my end game targets. If you told me I can come away with Zach Ertz and Kyle Pitts, I'd be pretty happy. I think Tyler Warren's an exciting pick, but you kind of want to make sure you have room for two guys. I think taking 2 darts on the tight end makes sense unless you want to try just one. And then again, there's always going to be tight ends churning on the waiver wire. So if you don't get one of the top ones, I kind of just like pushing it to the back of the draft, and I'll come away with, Zach Ertz, Kyle Pitts, give me Chico Conquo. We'll see what happens here. So tight ends, I didn't really talk much about him, but there is a little bit of strategy here. If you want the top ones, you got to take McBride or Bowers first. You can wait for Kittle in the 3rd or 4th round. And honestly, I don't really see a difference between a lot of these tight ends here, whether it's Andrews, Laporta, Kelce, Hawkinson, Njoku, Ertz, maybe even Kraft. It's basically who catches touchdowns at that point. So there you have it. I hope that helped. That's going to be my final draft prep video of the 2025 season. I do have a live stream tomorrow night, Wednesday evening. We'll go live. We'll do our final mock draft of the night. So if you guys want to hang out with me tomorrow evening, 7 p.m. Central Time, or if you're watching this on Wednesday, it'll be Wednesday, August 27th at 7 p.m. Central Time. We'll do the final mock of the year, and then just come with questions. Get your questions ready. If you're drafting this weekend, I'll answer any question that comes into the chat. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to check out thefantasyfellowship.com, subscribe, like the video, all that good stuff. I appreciate you guys. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Peace. Woo.